Joseph Doucet, and I'm the Dean of the Alberta School of Business, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Today I touched on several issues associated with Alberta's restructured electricity market, and the first point to make is that I always refer to it as a restructured market as opposed to a deregulated market. Deregulated suggests that regulation has been removed, and that's certainly not the case in Alberta. Regulation has changed a great deal. It has evolved. The market is very competitive in some segments, but it's certainly still a regulated market in many segments, so it's more appropriate to talk about it as a restructured market. It's important to understand that with a restructured electricity market, one of the main benefits is the greater alignment of incentives and information. With a restructured market and more competition, in particular in the generation sector, there are more options available to suppliers and to consumers of electricity. Now, of course, these options and opportunities aren't the same across all segments of the market, so it might well be the case that there are more options for large industrial consumers because of the larger nature of their demand. They're able to take advantage of more opportunities. But that said, when we have more opportunities, we have a greater ability for all the players in the market, from the very small residential consumer to the very large residential consumer, from competitive retailers to large generators of electricity. All of those players can take advantage of the greater number of options, the greater number of opportunities, and because of that, they can act more efficiently. And when all of the players in a market are able to access more efficient options, we get more investment, we get more economic efficiency, we get more employment, and we get overall better economic results for all of the players in the market. Businesses and industry generally in a restructured market, they are players, they're active participants, they make choices, and so they make choices in terms of investment, they make choices in terms of hiring decisions, they make decisions in terms of where they locate, they make technology decisions and innovation decisions. So industry and down to the business level are very important players because they need to take the information that they have, the incentives that they have to generate profit and turn those incentives and that information into the best decisions possible. In this very same way as consumers of electricity, need to take their information and incentives and make the best choices possible. So it's important to understand that businesses, the for-profit sector, is in many ways no different than individual consumers. We all take the information that we have, we search for information if we think that's going to be beneficial, and we make decisions based on our choice set and our objectives, be they profit maximization or the types of options, or I should say the objectives that an individual consumer has to maybe reduce their electricity bill or get more reliable service or try a new technology. So I think it's very important when policymakers, politicians, and other decision makers in a jurisdiction that is restructured to some extent, when they think of taking a step backward, when they think of re-regulating or removing some of the choice and options, I think it's very important that they fully realize that confidence in a market is something that is long-term. It's difficult to attain, it's difficult to achieve, and it's very easy to lose. Once you take one step back, it's very difficult to guarantee players, both existing players and potential players in the market, that you will not take another step. And that's a really tough one sometimes for politicians, because we have to recognize that electricity is a very, very politically sensitive subject. And there are always calls on policymakers and politicians to restructure, to provide more comfort, more assurance, to remove volatility, to put a ceiling on prices. All kinds of things are being asked of them, and they need to be very steadfast in terms of not taking a step back, which will reduce confidence in the market on the part of investors in the different segments of the market, and thus lead to a downward spiral where they might because of that first loss of confidence, be forced to take another step and ultimately return to the previous regulated system that we had, which, while not all bad, certainly for the most part, many people recognize as not having as many benefits for consumers, for the players in the market, as the current restructured systems that we have. So when you ask the question, what can provide comfort and assurance to consumers? How can they be certain that they're getting a good deal, that the rules are fair, that the rules are enforced? Well, the interesting and challenging piece is that for the vast majority of consumers, they do not have a sufficient understanding of the mechanics of the market, of the physics of transmission, of the regulations and policies in order to be able to judge themselves. But that's not too different from many other areas of our private lives. The vast majority of consumers don't have any idea regarding how to evaluate the safety of prescription medication. But we do feel safe because we understand that there are underlying processes, approvals, and guarantees that make the production or the fabrication and distribution of pharmaceuticals safe for consumers. In the same way, in the electricity sector, in Alberta, we have a very good, not perfect, but a very good system of checks and balances, of regulatory oversight, policy oversight, and surveillance that ensures Alberta consumers that the market is well functioning, that they're not going to be subject to untoward behavior on the part of market participants. Will there be some participants at some point who don't obey the rules? That's always a risk, but for the most part, we have a good system that oversees the market and protects consumer interests while at the same time providing the right incentives for appropriate levels of competition.